The Nintendo 64. Codenamed Project Reality, Nintendo's 5th generation console saw a large rise in 3D platformers. Games like Super Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie. Everyone wanted a slice of the proverbial 3D platformer pie. However, come the 6th and 7th generation, the genre was mostly dead. And due to the lack of 3D platformers, Jonas Karlev launched the project A Hat in Time. With an incredibly successful Kickstarter campaign, being released on macOS and Windows systems worldwide October 5th, 2017, as well as eventually being ported to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, those versions being published by Humble Bundle. A Hat in Time is a cute as heck 3D platformer where you play as Hat Kid trying to collect timepieces so you can go back home. And one of the obstacles you'll find on your journey are bosses. And today I'll give you my ranking of these bosses from easiest to hardest. Just remember that this is just my opinion, so if you have to make a comment telling me why I'm wrong, can you make sure I can read it and not just take a shit on your keyboard? So without further ado, let's start with number 12. Number 12, Meowjima. I was debating on whether or not to put Meowjima on the list, as I have heard him been branded a mini-boss. As well, if I did, I'd have to redo the next segment, and I didn't want to because I'm lazy. As well, he's just one of those cats in the Empress fight, but he can actually be hurt. He just jumps towards you and then occasionally does an attack with a stupidly long wind-up. Granted, he can only be hurt by a melee attack or I'm pretty sure the brewing hat. However, that doesn't really make this fight much more difficult. I guess what it meant by Kiwami means extreme was Kiwami means extremely piss easy. Yes, I know it's a Yakuza reference. Number 11, Barrel Battle. A Hat in Time's first boss ups the ante from Meowjima by instead of having you fight one standard enemy, you fight 5. Those 5 being 5 menacing mafia men. The first part has you fight 4 out of the 5 of them, and 2 out of the 4 of the 5 of them will put up flame shields to ward off the pissed off stands because they said K-pop sucks lol on their twitter.com. You have to use the homing attack to get rid of it. Then the one on top stops wondering why you don't just climb up there and kick his ass and starts pulling his weight around by throwing fucking spike explosive barrels at you. Shit. Talk about overkill. He starts by throwing them at you directly, but they will soon start to bounce around the arena. There will only be a maximum of 2 barrels bouncing around the arena at a time. Where does he get them from? Then he comes down to give you the business, only to last seconds longer than my brain cells when Baby Shark comes on for the 1,000,000th time. I am aware that it is a first boss, however it falls short of even those standards in terms of difficulty. Don't worry though, for the rest of the bosses you have to actually, well, try. Number 10, Mafia Boss.
You must be very lost, kid with the hat. You're in the heart of our town, standing before the most powerful man you will ever witness.
Oh really? It's not like we have 9 bosses left to go on this ranking. Though I guess none of them can be classified as a man, so you win this time, Mafia Boss. Though the one who'll be winning the fight is most likely Hat Kid, as this fight is still pretty easy. Though definitely not effortless. This fight is unique as in it takes place entirely in 2D. Mafia Boss always starts the fight with his spin to win attack, which basically just gives you a free hit. His other attacks are marginally more threatening, like his Super Charge, which gets upgraded to its Ultra Charge and Mega Charge later in the fight. His Mega Charge is actually really fast and can be pretty hard to dodge. Another of his attacks that can be hard to dodge is the Sack Drop. It will either be a free sack gap or a 1 sack gap, and sometimes a Mafia Man will come charging. This can lead to you having to avoid the Mafia Man, Mafia Boss coming back to stage, and having to go through a 1 sack gap, which can be pretty hard to dodge. He can also throw his 2 cleavers to the sides of the arena and they come back like boomerangs. He can also call upon the power of a ton of Mafia men and create the Mafia! which you'll have to climb up to hit him. Mafia Boss can usually only be hit at the end of or during his attacks when he turns blue. Also, you're given health pawns throughout the fight. Also, while gathering footage for this video, I actually died once to him. I'm sorry that I'm shit, okay? I really gotta give it to Gears for Breakfast though. While not difficult, Mafia Boss is still a kick-ass fight, as well as practically every other boss in the game. Well, except for the others we covered before Mafia Boss, and number 9, the Empress. I personally think the Empress and her band of pussies is the worst boss in the game. However, this isn't a quality ranking, so how does it hold up in difficulty? Yeah, it's easy. It's less of a fight and more of a chase throughout the metro. However, there really isn't any sense of pressure here. What I mean is that you can stay in the same area for as long as you want. Take, for example, Fuzzy Time Mine from Super Mario 3D World. You see, you can't stay in the same place for as long as you want, because these fuzzies are coming for your Princess Posterior, Toad Tushy, or Italian ass. Meaning you're under pressure to get out of there. Here you just have these cat enemies that Meowjima was based on. They sorta jump towards you and sometimes do an attack with a really long wind-up. These cat walls don't even close in on you. I have a $1 million bounty on my head! Come get me, you fucking idiot! You definitely shouldn't say that in public. In segments where you aren't getting chased by the cats, you'll most likely have to dodge these cat trains. Though I'm not sure if there's something wrong with my game. I did download it digitally from the eShop, but they don't load in immediately, so these segments become kind of a cakewalk. There are 3 times in the fight where the Empress actually tries to stop you, where she has this big-ass rocket launcher, and you'll have to guide the rockets into generators to deactivate the force field so you can proceed. I find this pretty easy, however, as the rockets are pretty slow. There are also segments where you have to platform on cat trains, and these can be pretty difficult, especially the final one. However, they aren't that bad. There are also checkpoints in this fight, which is a good thing because it's probably the longest in the game, or at least close to it. However, if I had to summarize this fight, I'd say it's a chase where you aren't being chased. The music isn't even that good. Number 8, The Snatcher. And here we have the consensus fan favorite fight in A Hat in Time. And while not my favorite, Noodle Ghost Youngtown is still an amazing boss. Only in video game terms though. Have you seen the terms and conditions of these contracts? You cannot use your hat abilities in this fight because the Snatcher steals your hat, which makes Hat Kid just Kid. The Snatcher has many attacks, however the one you'll be seeing the most is the big purple laser. He always starts the fight by summoning free at your location, then he hits you with the surprise motherfucker in the form of a laser that would be where you would be if you kept going in the same direction. He can also summon his minions to circle the arena, which he will use in combination with the big purple laser later in the fight. He can also summon Saturn's rings worth of potions, which he's gonna use to blow up Uranus. You have to dodge these attacks until he turns blue. Dick. Good thing the second time he uses his potion attack, one of them ends up being a dud, and you throw it back at him. Don't worry, Hat Kid definitely has aimbot, and turn him blue with his own attack. Then the Noodle gets angry and advances to phase 2. He gains many more attacks in this phase, which includes teleporting and summoning shockwaves. If you're on the ground when he comes back up, you'll get knocked on your face, which can lead to you getting hit by a shockwave. So the best way to deal with the attack is to stay in the air. As well, he has a red laser attack which circles around the arena, which at first I found pretty tricky to avoid, however I eventually got the hang of it. He also has some different purple laser attacks, and he has this one attack which basically just gives you a free hit. Depending on whether he winks with his right or left eye, you hit the Snatcher in that direction. While the Snatcher's attacks can be hard to dodge, he keels over faster than your average soccer player. If the Snatcher had more health, he could probably be a bit higher on the list, though as it stands now, he's one of the easier bosses in the game. Also, he has this attack which does absolutely nothing. The clones don't even hurt you if you touch them. Number 7, the Toilet of Doom. Oh hey look, it's the physical embodiment of the YouTube comments section. Anyway, I find the fight against the Toilet of Doom and the Snatcher to be pretty interchangeable. However, I gave the Toilet the edge because the fight is longer. He always starts the fight by shooting green bubbles at you that, fun fact, were originally supposed to be brown. One of which will have a health pawn, and the other will have an exploding apple. You have to throw the apple at him, but unlike in the Snatcher fight, you don't have aimbot, though it is easy to hit him. Then he'll jump up and slam down, causing shockwaves. And then he'll jump to the center, summoning dweller cages. However, this is by far his least threatening attack. This is because all you have to do to avoid it is just use the hook shot on the lantern to hit him. Then you repeat the pattern without the shockwaves. Then he summons bubbles around the center of the arena, and you have to avoid the green ones and get the exploding apple and throw it at him. And he summons shockwaves throughout this segment. First there are 3 bubbles, but the second time there are 6. After that, there's the final phase. He has another variant of the Dweller Cage attack, which is more threatening due to you actually having to go after him and hit him. He can do his Shockwave Slam again, with the last one being much closer to you. And he can summon a giant bomb, which you need to climb up the cages to get to the top. This is an instant kill attack, so get moving and smack the shitter. Overall, his attacks are a little less hard to dodge than the Snatchers, however the fight is quite a bit longer. So he gets the edge. Number 6, Mustache Girl. This fight was an absolute pain in the ass to get footage for. The 2 places you fight Mustache Girl in are at the end of the boss rush in Death Wish, and at the end of the finale. Both are pretty long levels. My bitching aside, how's the fight? Well, the first phase is pretty unimportant, so let's just skip to the Hyper Zone. Mustache Girl always starts the fight with the instant transmission attack. The best way to deal with this is stay in the air and spam Y. This almost guarantees that you'll get hit when she tries to bitch slap you. She throws timepieces at you that create a hazard sideways. I'm not sure if I'm stupid or something, but I don't know how to describe it. As well, she'll teleport away and shoot a pretty easy to dodge laser. Soon, she'll use the laser attack, but every time you get close, she'll teleport away. The best way to deal with this is use the sprint hat to rush at her. Then the conductor and the mafia men will team up and summon a mafia ball. Just hit it and it'll go straight at Mustache Girl, no aiming required. So if you have the projectile badge, this section becomes a complete joke, but I didn't the first time, so it was a bit more difficult. While you're trying to hit the Mafia Ball though, she'll be shooting lasers at you. Now she'll put up a shield, which you have to use the exploding apple that the Goat Man throws to get rid of it. She uses her teleporting bitch slap attack again, as well as jumping around summoning shockwaves, and this one attack that I've just never figured out how to dodge. I was just sometimes able to dodge it. After you take the shield down, she will reapply it randomly. Sometimes she does it immediately after you take it down, sometimes later. By the way, this fight is pretty unforgiving as you only get healing when you end the phase. However, it's pretty easy to not make mistakes here. And then the final phase, when everyone kills themselves to give you health pawns, even though you only have a max of 4 hit points, I don't think they thought this through. The final phase is made up entirely of attacks used previously in the fight. However, it is by far the easiest as you're given near constant healing, so it's impossible basically to die in this part, even if you try. Number 5, DJ Grooves. For the hardest boss in the main game, we have the Club Penguin OC, or the profanity spewing whatever the fuck type of bird the conductor is. Depending on who wins the battle of the birds is the boss you'll fight here. The fight's the same down to the hitbox size, so I'm just gonna say DJ Grooves because he's the one I fought on my playthrough. Well, I find this fight to be more forgiving than Mustache Girls, as you get healing throughout the phases instead of just at the end of them. However, I found DJ Grooves' attacks to be much harder to avoid than Mustache Girls, so he gets higher. Speaking of, he attacks you with many attacks befitting that of a DJ, such as dropping disco balls on you, dropping spotlights on you, jumping at you, knives? How the fuck did these get here? Well, that's gonna cost a lot. Or not. Deadbird Studio evades his taxes. He always starts with his jumping attack, and all you have to do to avoid that is, well, jump. For his spotlights, all you have to do is walk. The disco ball falls down and summons a shockwave. If you're on the ground when it hits, you get knocked on your face. The second one being delayed. And the ones after that having more disco balls. By the way, they're photo copies. Anyway, the disco balls make it so there's actually a lot of stuff to dodge, and if you get knocked on your face, you could end up being unable to get up and possibly getting hit. That's the only bit of this fight that's a little bit bullshit, but it's not that bad. Another of his attacks that uses photocopies is when he throws knives at you, but gets harder to dodge later in the fight with more knives. After this, he attacks with constantly stabbing, which basically just gives you a free hit. There's actually a safe spot in the corner of the room, however I didn't notice my first time playing, though it didn't make too much of a difference as the cars aren't that hard to dodge. Aside from the attacks that I've already mentioned are just free hits, DJ Grooves' windows where you can attack him aren't as big as the other bosses, or at least that's what it feels like. However, it's not small, so it's not that bad. Then he fucking straps a bomb to your back and throws fucking saw blades at you! All of this to go back in time and win some damn movie awards! It probably isn't even made of real gold! Well, it says 80 seconds, which is just 1 minute 40 seconds. You actually have 2 minutes, since when the clock starts getting close to 0, it slows down. DJ Grooves' attacks during this phase to ice skate around the arena, without ice, in an attempt to stall out the timer, and throwing saw blades from either up high, in which he'll jump down at you when he's done, or throwing them from the ground. If you attempt to attack him before he throws them on the ground, he'll knock you back. Eventually the conductor appears, and eventually after that he'll use his diffuser to, well, defuse the bomb. Then DJ Groove sticks the parade on you, while using his phase 1 moveset with a few changes. The spotlights now drop from one side to the other, he skips throwing the knives altogether and just starts constantly stabbing, and there are no cars. While the parade can definitely be a threat, this phase is really short, so don't worry. I know I'm making this fight sound easy, and it is, but compared to the other fights, I do find it to be the hardest. Also, the first time I fought this boss, it was actually pretty difficult. However, it's easy now. The rest of the bosses on this list, however, are still a consistent challenge, even after beating them. Number 4, the Directors. Am I the only one noticing a pattern here? We have a game, people call it too easy, and then it comes out with a DLC harder than performing heart surgery on a loved one. With only a fucking pizza cutter. In a Hat in Time's case, we have Death Wish, which was basically a pack of extremely difficult challenges. Included in these challenges were rematches against the 4 end-of-chapter bosses. Out of all of them, I found it easiest to be the rematch against DJ Grooves and the Conductor. Yeah, you have to fight both of them at once. Although, easy is definitely not the way to describe this fight. The jump up in difficulty from this one and the last is just incredible, honestly. Though I already went in depth with DJ Grooves' attacks, and they're the same here except just, well, more. So I'll just list some things here. Because the guy who defused the bomb in the original fight is currently trying to kill you now, well, that bomb ain't getting defused till the end of the fight. However, you do have more time than the original, so it balances out, though it is still a threat. The cars are now extremely difficult to avoid, so you definitely want to go to the safe space in the corner of the room. I didn't notice existed my first time, so I did have to try and dodge them. Yeah, that usually didn't end up well. Remember how I said the disco balls can knock you on your face and keep you on the ground and you get hit by the shockwave? Yeah, that definitely happens a lot more here since that's a lot of balls. And speaking of balls, sometimes you'll have to deal with 2 attacks going off at the same time. And, well, just look at it! Look at how much you have to fucking dodge! When they do the Stab-O-Rama, they are much faster than before, though it's still easy to take care of, but if you're not paying attention, it could hit you. The best way to beat this fight is to whittle down both directors' health evenly. This is so you don't have to deal with them too much during the phase where the parade tries to murder you. The directors tend to throw themselves at you one at a time, so the strategy is pretty effective. As well, you get less healing in this fight, as anytime you get 2 health pawns in the original original fight, you'd get 1. Except when you get the bomb strapped on you, then you get 2 health pawns. I'm sorry for not going in depth like I did with the other fights. As I said, the way to describe this fight is that it's the DJ Groove's fight, but more. Number 3, Mafia Boss EX. Oh really, it's not like we have 9 bosses left to go on this ranking. Though I guess none of them can be classified as a man, so you win this time, Mafia Boss. Go! Well, I guess one of them could be classified as man. After the first battle where he was mashed into mush and had his remains stuffed into a jar, apparently lacking a brain, guess that makes him your average Instagram user. Anyway, he's got a brand new body now and is pissed. In the original fight, Mafia Boss could only be hit during or at the end of most of his attacks. When he turns blue, dabba dee, dabba die. Is that still relevant? Who cares, it'll make this video feel dated either way. Now for most of the attacks he had where you could hit him during it, you can only hit him at the end of the attack. Speaking of, said attacks are now much harder to dodge. When he uses the attack where he turns into a helicopter, you now actually have to dodge it instead of just using the homing attack. As well, you might have to avoid a dropping sack when he does this attack, and it appears to try to predict where you're gonna go next. Another of his attacks that you'll have to worry about the sack dropping is his Super, Ultra, and Mega Charge, which are pretty hard to dodge on their own, especially the Mega Charge. And sometimes the sack invites his entire extended family for an attack, as well as Mafia men joining in on the fun. In the original fight, there would either be 0 or 1 Mafia man charging when this attack happens. Now, it's 1 or 3. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to thread this needle. So yeah, do yourself a favor and use the time stop hat. It's helpful for all the Death Wish bosses. Well, except for one, but we'll get to that. But it's especially helpful here, because I often find myself at the other end of the arena when Mafia Boss's attack ends and he turns blue. And this can lead to me missing my chance to attack. With a time stop hat, this issue is completely alleviated. He now throws his cleavers multiple times before turning blue, and his Mafia ball is now faster. And it also caused me to fail one of the secondary challenges, even though I clearly didn't miss my chance to attack. Oh, no, I'm totally not salty or anything, but hey, that's how Mafia works. That is a dead fucking meme. Number 2, Mustache Girl EX. Let's just skip to the Hyper Zone. I'm pretty sure the first phase is even shorter in this fight compared to the original anyway. Starting off, I died to this fight, what was it now? 216 fucking times. On my second time trying to fight the boss while getting footage for this video. The first time I beat this boss, I only died like 36 times, which is still a lot, but nowhere near as much as the second time. As well, not as many deaths as when I fought the boss at the top of this list for the first and second time when gathering footage for this video. As well, both times I feel like I required more skill to beat the boss at the top of this list than Mustache Girl EX. Hence why he's at the top of this list. Mustache Girl EX ain't no slouch either though. She's number 2 on this list for a reason. Her teleporting bitch slap attack seems to be largely the same. However, her laser attack isn't. It can sweep pretty fast now. As well, after the first time she does this attack, she teleports away when you get close and does the attack from a different location. You have to chase her down so you can hit her. I found the best way to deal with this from my experience is to use the sprint hat. She throws a lot more timepieces when she does that attack now. I found a reliable way to deal with it is to use a sprint hat to run in a curve. Then she'll start using the laser attack, but whenever you get close, she teleports away, which serves as a gateway into the second phase. You'll have to hit the Mafia ball at her to do damage to her, because she'll teleport away when you get close. She uses 2 attacks in this phase, timepieces and the laser. The timepieces seem to be the same as the first phase, she might throw it a little more. However, the laser is different as it throws out 2 timepieces. They go in an X pattern in front of her. Good thing you don't actually have to aim the ball. Just shoot it with the projectile badge, or you just run into it and it'll go straight at her. Though she might teleport to an area in the arena where the ball can't reach her. Just get close to her so she disappears like a husband when he finds out his wife wife is pregnant. Then there's the third phase where she puts up a shield, and you have to use the exploding apple to break it. Her coming up from the ground attack seems to be largely the same, though it might be a little faster. Her laser attack is the same as the first phase, except it throws out timepieces, and her shockwave attack also throws out timepieces. These attacks make it hard to get closer with the exploding apple so you can break her shield. After you break it, she seems to regenerate it randomly. Sometimes directly after you break it, other times she takes a bit to regenerate it. Thing is, you don't get healing in this fight until the final phase. And you've only got 4 hit points, meaning each hit is extremely punishing. The margin for error here is smaller than a fucking dust mite. So you're basically conserving your health until you can get to the final phase where you do get healing. Except the final phase is when all hell breaks loose. Look at this. This is utter fucking madness. There are timepieces falling, lasers, shockwaves, the works. As well, since the final phase in the original fight was basically invalidated by how much healing you get, I didn't talk about it there, but here the intervals between when you get healing are much farther apart. And while doing this, you still have to fucking hit Mustache Girl. It's utter chaos. Thankfully, this phase is short, as if it was any longer, Mustache Girl EX could have easily been number 1. But that's not what happened, so let's go on to the hardest boss in a hat in time. At least in my opinion. Number 1, Ultra Snatcher. Remember in the Snatcher segment when I said he was a great boss, but not my favorite? Well, I fucking lied. Technically, Ultra Snatcher is my favorite fight in the game, as he has all the strengths of the regular Snatcher battle, as well as being incredibly challenging and immensely satisfying to overcome. My first time fighting this boss, I died about like 79 times before beating him. Anyway, let's see what Snatcher has to say about this. Lie into shockwaves? Yes, this appears to be working perfectly. Speaking of, these shockwaves come out whenever he uses the purple laser attack, which can lead to patterns like this. The purple lasers aren't the only thing that's been changed. For one, his red laser attack goes around 3 times. When he teleports, he also throws potions at you, and his potion rain attack seems to have improved accuracy. Speaking of, he can now actually use his potion rain attack in the second phase. Whenever he does his teleport attack or his potion rain attack, one of the potions will end up being a dud. And not only can you pick it up and throw it back at him to damage him, but also his current attack will be cancelled just like a celebrity who does literally anything these days. So you should definitely use that to your advantage. Also, Hackett has gone back to the ways of aimbot. Absolutely fucking shameful. His attack where his minions circle the arena seems to be roughly the same, except for the shockwaves. He can shoot 4 purple lasers while throwing potions. One attack that wasn't changed was the shadow clones. They still do nothing. Oh yeah, they chase you now. He no longer uses his wink attack, so no more free hits for you, bucko. Unlike in the previous fights where you could get a bit of a break every now and again, there is basically no downtime in this fight at all. Kind of like the spoilers for Hollow Knight the Grim Troop in 3, 2, 1... Nightmare King Grim fight. Well, Ultra Snatcher isn't anywhere near as difficult as NKG. However, they're alike in the fact that there is so little downtime between attacks that if you try to take a break for even a moment, you're probably going to get hit. Well, except for when Grim uses this attack, but he's just weird, okay? Anyway, Hollow Knight spoilers over. You get a health pawn about every other hit you get on Snatcher. I might be wrong here. This might make it sound easier than Mustache Girl EX with her not giving you any healing at all until the final phase. Until you realize that he's throwing out so many attacks that you need to dodge, it gets really hard to get close to hit him. And you're not allowed to use hat abilities in this fight either, so it's not like you can use the laser badge to close the gap. And with all that put together, this is probably the closest we're gonna get to 3D Toho. Toho, I have no fucking idea how to say that. Frick off. There's another fight with Ultra Snatcher at the end of the Seal the Deal boss rush, which is the final mission of Death Wish. However, I suck too much and can't get there. However, what basically happens is he takes some attacks from the other bosses, which makes the fight even harder. However, the Ultra Snatcher fight here is the one in breaching the contract. In terms of difficulty compared to the more infamous bosses in gaming, I'd say his difficulty is a bit lower than the boss whose song is playing right now, actually. You probably know who it is. Still not sure why they decided to not give him his own fame. With that being said, we're done. Overall, A Hat in Time is an amazing game with an outstanding boss roster. Every boss in this game besides Barrel Battle, Meowjima, and the Empress were absolutely incredible. And the Empress is the only one I'd consider bad, as I just didn't really care about Meowjima or Barrel Battle. But remember, heck is confirmed to be the F word, and catch you on the next video.